G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you're having a good day, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user MDR739, titled, Am I the asshole for not allowing my son to go to his school dance? My husband, 51 male, and I, 48 female, have 6 children. Our 16-year-old Gianna is a junior in high school. Our son Riker, 13, is in the 7th grade. The kids are starting to have their school dances. The 7th grade dance is later this month, and the junior banquet is in early May. We've gone shopping for dress clothes for all the dances. We bought Gianna's dress a few weeks ago. Gianna has usually been a good kid throughout her life. This school year has been slightly harder than others though. Around 2 months ago, we got a call from Gianna's choir teacher saying that Gianna and a few other altos were making racist jokes about some of the new pieces that she introduced, including an Urdu song and a song from Honduras. We talked to Gianna about her actions, and we made her write an apology to her teacher, as well as write a 5-paragraph essay on why it's important to respect music from other cultures. Riker has a friend from his baseball team who is Honduran. He was born here, but his mum was born in Honduras, and his dad is mixed. When Riker found out about this, he was quite mad and asked if he could have his friend come over and teach her about the culture there. We allowed this, and he came over with his parents, and they made food, and Riker and his friends talked about sports and music there. Gianna was very clearly not enjoying it, but we made her engage anyways. Our daughter and a group of friends, including her boyfriend, got in trouble last week for making racist jokes again. We took her phone to investigate to see where this hatred could be coming from. Riker had his friends go over for a sleepover the night we found out about this. During dinner, the boys were talking about how their coach would never let them live through it if they bullied a kid or made racist jokes. My husband and I tried helping guiding them through their feelings, like asking them about the diverse athletes that they liked. Gianna was hanging out with her friends at the mall that night, some of whom were doing dress shopping for the upcoming dance. Our son and the boys decided to use this as an opportunity to trash the dress, using mud, drinks, and cutting a few holes in the dress. We found out when Gianna came home, entered her room, and saw the dress. The boys were laughing, and Riker said they did it because Gianna didn't deserve to go to the banquet, and saying how there could be kids that look like his Honduran friend. We told Riker that we were trying our best to educate her in a very white town. We are also white. We told him that this was the wrong way to take out his anger, and that as a result, he couldn't go to his 7th grade dance. Riker told us to shut up and spent the rest of his night in his room with the boys. Riker texted my parents and siblings as well as my in-laws. A few have called us and came to his defense, saying he's just a kid who was trying to cope with anger. Now we're unsure if we're in the wrong. Am I the asshole? Honestly, I think that you've made the wrong move here and that you're the asshole for what you've done. Gianna has been racist, been punished, been given the chance to make up for it, then decides to be racist again. I don't get why he gets punished worse than she does. Terrible parenting choices, and you should feel bad. You're the asshole. In the comments, SnooJokes7657 says, You're the asshole. I don't understand how destroying a dress is coming with a bigger punishment than getting in trouble for racism twice. What he did was wrong, but the fact that your daughter is still getting to go to a dance and out with friends also seems like the wrong response. I can understand why he's angry. Magda Ada replies, this. Also, the whole teaching experience of Honduran dinner with Riker's friend and their parents. Was she reprimanded and punished for behaving disrespectfully then? Because if her mum could pick up on the fact that she didn't care for it, then I assure you the guests invited to that home could too. Basically, this is typical white people attitude of racism is bad, but there are worse things like destroying something. And I say it as a white person. Easy Historian replies, 100% OP definitely just taught her kids that destroying property is worse than racism. I already was getting that vibe when she taught the daughter that other cultures' music should be respected, putting the focus on the music and not the racism, but the daughter's punishment doesn't fit the crime at all. Yes, sadly, the attitude of racism bad, but really it was just a joke and nobody was really damaged by words, meanwhile destroying someone else's property is real damage, is all too common among well-off white folk. There's also this attitude that spoken racism is basically bad manners, like swearing or belching loudly at dinner table. Something that cultural, well-behaved people don't do, but not an abhorrent behavior that needs to be nipped in the bud ASAP and with all prejudice. Slightly you're the asshole. His punishment does seem more severe than hers, given that she's a repeat offender and he is reacting to racism in his own home. Why is she still allowed to go to a dance given her behavior? You're educating her without any serious consequences, but you're punishing him without any real education. Yes. Why is it that she gets light punishment and education, but Riker doesn't get educated on healthy anger expression, he just gets punished? That makes no sense to me. Well, that's because OP is operating on the assumption that her daughter just doesn't know any better, but her son does. It's a shitty assumption. And now, on to the update. Hello. I first wanted to thank everyone for the advice. Yesterday was insane processing just how many comments I got, and also talking to family, including my siblings, parents, and in-laws about where to go from here. I get it. My husband and I were in the wrong. We first talked to Riker. He told us how mad he was at Gianna. He told us about how some girls in his middle school have been racist towards his friend, so he wanted to protect him. He told us that him and his friends made the plot together because they felt like she could hurt someone if she didn't face backlash. We asked him if he regretted his decision purely to see his mood. He immediately said no. We did go over anger management though. We then talked to Gianna, and things went much worse than we expected. She defended herself and used much worse language than what she got in trouble at school for. She used slurs and called Riker a crybaby. My family and my husband's family all live close to us. We decided to have dinner with my siblings, parents, and in-laws. We asked for advice, discussed everything, and had them question Gianna and Riker some more. Again, Gianna expressed much worse sentiments than we could have ever imagined. Riker was more put together and went into depth about his feelings. After our families had left, my husband and I went into our bedroom to discuss what the punishments would be. We first spoke to Riker. We told him that he could go to the dance, and then discussed the money with him. We decided to not make him pay for the financial damages to us, but we asked him how he felt if he bought something with his hard-earned money from gold caddying. He eventually said he understood our initial anger after that thought experiment. Off the recommendations of my brother, we also suggested looking into how he could channel his desire for social justice into sports, the most important thing in Riker's life besides his friends. We then talked to Gianna. We told her that she would not be attending the junior banquet and told her that she would have to read and write a report on 2 books from a list of books on racism. Some commentators have made recommendations, and we will look into them. She also has lost all of her devices except her school Chromebook until further notice. We also apologize to Riker for holding him to higher standards simply because he's the higher achiever of the family. He also mentioned the fact that we don't give him enough attention because of that. We are looking into different therapies such as family therapy or individual therapy for Gianna, possibly Riker, and even our other kids. In the comments, Tia Alice 23 says, OP, thank you for reading the comments and adjusting the punishments. This is a significant improvement over the original post, but please continue to read the responses to this update, as there is still a way to go, and I think you have now understood the severity of the situation. Riker, this is a great improvement. I think you could or should have asked him for an apology to you for the destruction of property that you bought, that you may otherwise have returned if you'd cancelled Gianna attending the dance. He doesn't owe Gianna anything, and the money isn't a big deal, but he needs to recognize his actions were well-meaning but unfair. But, bluntly, you weren't punishing your daughter. You seemed more focused on finding a cause for her actions. His method was wrong, but we can all understand that he saw the abuse. I suspect more than you did, and wanted her to see consequences for her actions. I'm glad he told you that you give him insufficient attention because you see him as the high achiever. Please take this to heart and adjust. It speaks volumes that his coach is a bigger authority figure than you are to him, and he still needs his parents. Gianna, taking away her devices and refusing her attendance to the dance is good, but you've already tried essay writing. Why is this your go-to punishment? Honestly, it doesn't work. Loads of studies about how kids don't respond well to this. Most kids don't learn a lot from essay writing, especially when they don't care about a topic. And what's to stop Gianna from copy-pasting off the internet, never even reading the book? Plus, I'm sorry, but you've probably still not seen the true extent of her racism, even though you're more looped in now. A book is so unlikely to convince her to change her ways. Looking into therapies, family and individual, makes sense, but talking therapy is about letting you work through your own emotions and requires you to be willing to change. It doesn't sound like Gianna will be receptive unless you find a genuine anti-racism specialist. Might be tricky in your area. I would recommend forcing Gianna to volunteer somewhere, not specifically high POC areas, just in general to develop some empathy, and perhaps, if you can swing it, taking her on family holiday to somewhere that isn't a white area. Spend weeks there, and while the rest of your family do a mixture of activities, you, your partner, and Gianna focus on exploring the culture, food, history, music, etc. Also, you need to separate her from her friend group. Whether she is the ringleader or a follower, it's unclear right now. They either encourage or enable her to continue like this. If you have to block their numbers, control her devices, remove all social media, move her school, do it. She can't continue like this, and at her age, you don't have long before she can enter the world without you and potentially cause hurt and damage in her wake. Best wishes, and I hope you manage to resolve this. Also, please update if you can with any further updates. We're all hoping to see an improvement in Gianna's behavior. Leah TG says, "It seems like there is a deeper vein of entitlement and bad behavior from the kids here that needs to be addressed. I'd be a lot less concerned with what is appropriate punishment and a lot more concerned with why they're acting like this. No way either is isolated." Right? They took away her devices, I'm assuming in order to cut her off from whatever the source of this racism is, but not any information on the websites that she visits or examining what type of friend group she has. Any of that. They say they're unaware of where this comes from and not having as many kids as they do. I suppose I can understand not being able to keep an eye on where all of them are getting their ideas from, but it's odd. This isn't something that a kid gets grounded over and decides that racism is lame. There's some outside influence that needs to be examined and had its fallacies explained in a teen-friendly way so she doesn't immediately fall right back into it. Yeah, I'm kind of on board with that one as well. It really does feel like there's some outside influence going on, and OP's solutions aren't really going to be effective because they weren't effective to begin with. Why would they be effective second time round? Anyway, how would you guys handle this? How have you handled this in the past before? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by a throwaway account titled, "I, 29 female, am considering ending my engagement to my fiancé, 32 male, over something that my friend, 31 male, told me, but I'm not sure if I'd be making a mistake." So I have a friend, Clark, who I've known forever. We grew up together. Clark's dad died recently, and I've been helping him to clean out the house, and this weekend we found an engagement ring in his dad's stuff. Clark told me that it was a ring that he bought for me back when he was in college and was going to give me when I graduated high school, but his dad found out and forbid him and took the ring away from him, and so he never asked me to marry him and never told me about it at all until now. So the thing is that I did used to have a pretty big crush on Clark when we were kids, but I got over it since I never thought that I had a shot with him. Since he told me that he almost proposed to me, all I've been able to think about is how my life would have turned out if that had happened. I can't stop wondering if Clark is still interested in me now, and I feel like he might be because he said that he's always regretted not asking me to marry him because he was too scared of getting cut off to stand up to his dad, and he also did tell me that I could keep the ring now if I wanted it. But I feel like doing anything anywhere close to pursuing anything with Clark, even just talking to him about how he feels, is basically cheating on my fiancé, and the only ethical thing to do is end things with him first. But until this happened, I've been happy with my fiancé, and I'm not sure if I'm tempted to act rashly because lately things have been stressful. We've been together for 2 years, and we got engaged last October, so we just started wedding planning, which has frankly been pretty awful. And I'm not sure how much that's been influencing my feelings. But on the other hand, I'm wondering if the fact that I'm having cold feet, in any sense, maybe means that it's a good idea to take a step back. What should I do? You already have a whole-ass fiancé, OP, what are you doing? Yes, you've known Clark forever and you grew up together, but you never dated him. I know it's sounding very judgmental, but how are you having second thoughts on your own engagement with someone that you've been intimate with and that you want to marry now that Clark has thrown his, old wedding ring in the ring, so to say? My advice would be don't do anything rash and probably leave this one alone and stay friends with Clark. In the comments, Pam Selicane says, I'm hung up on the fact that he was going to ask you to marry him without ever dating you first. And OP is ready to do it years later. This is what confused the hell out of me. Why was he just going to propose without ever dating, and why is she now considering dumping her fiancé to now go ahead with it? Because your friend now comes out of the blue, you're thinking about ending with your fiancé. Are you sure you love him? How long have you been with him? Yeah, this does not bode well. I stayed friends with an ex of mine after college, and we would occasionally hook up. Eventually I moved away, met someone else, and married my now husband. That ex messaged me somewhat recently to flirt and asked me to send him nudes. I said no in no uncertain terms because I'm happily married, then just went ahead and blocked him because what kind of an asshole treats a woman like this, especially when he knows she's partnered? OP's friend? Sounds like a manipulator, and OP doesn't sound like she truly loves her fiancé. I think he's using the fact that she is overwhelmed by her wedding. She should stay away from him and try to work out her relationship. This is probably one of those grass is always greener type situations. On top of that, you always want what you can't have, and now it's become clear to you that what you couldn't have might be available. But the biggest thing here is that it has taken something very little for you to be reconsidering your entire engagement and marriage to your fiancé. That is significant. You even mentioned about ending things with him as an ethical way to approach this, meaning you've at the very least considered it. I feel for your fiancé in this situation. This is completely unfair to him. The reason you get engaged and get married is because you believe that they are the one for you. Obviously, you do not. Take some real time to assess your feelings here because this is a life-altering decision that you're going to be making. I agree with this. Unfortunately, I think the right answer here is an introspective look at why she's so willing to drop someone she's engaged to, and why she's so willing to start something brand new with someone that she hasn't had any romantic interaction with in quite some time. Clark probably isn't the same person that he was in college, approximately 10 years based on ages. And if she really loved her fiancé enough to marry him, this wouldn't register like it is. I think some serious thought on why this is even a serious question is important. One more thing, in my opinion, this wasn't an accident on Clark's part. He knows what a bombshell this is, and that is shitty. And now onto the update. So my post got removed, and I don't think there's really any point trying to post on the subreddit again anyway, so I'm just going to make an update here like the sidebar suggested, since people have been sending me messages about it. But basically all that's happened so far is that I wasn't sure what I wanted to say to my fiancé, so I went to my parents' house so that I could think about it for a while longer. My mum at one point started asking me about wedding planning questions, which led to a conversation where I ended up telling her that I don't want to get married anymore. She's actually being really supportive of this because she agrees that I shouldn't marry my fiancé, but because of issues that she said she's been noticing about his family. So right now I'm staying at my parents' house. My mum told my fiancé that I'm sick so that he wouldn't try to come see me until I'm ready to tell him that I'm calling off the wedding. I do know I just need to rip off the band-aid and tell him, but I'm just trying to think about what exactly I want to say. In the comments, IMB35 says, here's a few things that I can think of. Be honest and upfront about your decision to break up. Be clear and direct when you talk to your fiancé. Focus on how you're feeling and what you need, rather than pointing fingers or assigning blame. Be prepared for a range of emotions, including sadness, anger, and confusion. Give your fiancé the space to process his feelings. Be understanding and compassionate. And now onto another update. This was a post in r/advice. So, I know this is probably a better question for the relationship subreddits, but the general tone over here looked a little bit kinder. The situation is that my fiancé and I have been together for 2 years and engaged for 6 months, but a few things have happened recently that make me want to take a step back and realize that this relationship isn't actually what I want. I've been thinking about this for a while, but I'm still not sure how to explain this to my fiancé. I can write out how I'm feeling pretty easily, but I feel like obviously he's owed a face-to-face conversation about something like this, and I truly don't know how I'm supposed to look someone in the eye and tell them that I don't want to marry them. Right now, I'm avoiding him instead of talking to him, and I can't keep doing that, so I really need some advice. And now, onto the final update. So I decided to break up with my fiancé. After thinking everything over, I realized that even aside from anything to do with Clark, it would have been the wrong decision to marry him. And I had a conversation with my mum when I told her what I decided, where she agreed that I shouldn't marry my fiancé for reasons I hadn't really considered, that also convinced me that I was making the right choice by ending things. I told him that it wasn't his fault, and it wasn't about anything that he did, but that I'd been doing a lot of thinking and realized that our relationship wasn't what I wanted, and that I thought that it would be best if we ended things, and that I was sorry, and I wished him the best in life, but that I just couldn't be a part of it. He didn't get upset like I was afraid he would, and it didn't turn into a fight or anything. He basically first said that he didn't understand where this was coming from, and then he asked me if it was because of something that my parents were saying, and if I was sure. But then he didn't really have anything else to say about it, and just agreed that we'd talk later to figure out getting the rest of my stuff out of his apartment. I do think that this was the right decision, because I've been feeling really relieved since it happened. I've had a lot of conversations over the past few days that have made me realize that I don't think I ever actually loved my fiancé. I was just comfortable with him and thought that was good enough. And a mini update in the comments. Hey, since you asked, I'd figured I'd give you an update now that I have one. So I talked to Clark about everything last night, and basically what happened is that he told me that he wasn't trying to come between me and my fiancé or confess to having feelings for me when he told me about how he had almost proposed to me way back when. He just told me that story without thinking that it would actually affect anything. But when I asked, he admitted that while he hasn't secretly been in love with me all these years or anything like that, he has always still thought that we'd make a good couple, but just felt like he missed his window for anything to happen between us. So I told him that I felt the same way, and we ended up kissing, but we decided that we don't want to jump into anything right now because I'm still trying to figure out a lot of things. So for now, I guess we've both just acknowledged that we do have feelings for each other, but we're trying to be smart and take things slow. In the comments, it's terrifying to think that there are people who make it to their late 20s and early 30s without doing even the most basic level of introspection about their lives. I'm putting $10 on everyone involved is a member of a religion with very strong views about getting married young. It would explain the buying a ring for a high school kid, which she was, Clark's dad being able to forbid him from marrying his choice of wife, and that being the end of it, and OP describing her relationship with her life partner as, "I've been happy with my fiancé." Young people getting married because that is what they were raised to do. How can she justify her actions against her ex? He really deserved better than her. He deserves to be with someone who wants to be with him. Yes, but he also deserved that from the start. I'm not saying he didn't. If she doesn't want to be with him with her whole heart and 100% commitment, she's doing the right thing by ending things. At least she broke up with him and didn't string him along while she figured things out. It sucks for the fiancé that a seemingly good relationship ended, but he deserves to marry someone who is all in. It just sounds like she was happy enough, but then realized that she was tempted to cheat, didn't cheat, stepped away and thought about it, and decided that even the temptation to cheat meant their relationship wasn't what she wanted after all, and marrying him wasn't the right choice, and ended the relationship quickly and cleanly. What should she have done? Pushed herself to ignore her feelings and stay with the guy, even though she knew deep down that they weren't right for each other? If more engaged people did what she did, there'd be a lot fewer divorces. It sucks and it is sad, but I don't see how she did anything wrong. Well, all's well that ends well in this story, I guess. I hope everyone learns a lesson from this one. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this one? I'd love you to let me know down in the comments below. Our next post is by user Architecture Hater, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my 28 fiancé 29 that I could not rely on her in a life or death situation?" So I have what I think is a very good sense of situational awareness. I'm a quick thinker, and I tend to not panic in dangerous situations. My fiancé, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. If I'm being nice, I would say she doesn't have any awareness of danger. If I'm being honest, I would say that she has the survival instinct of a panda raised in captivity. She has no sense of danger around her, doesn't constantly examine her surroundings for things that could be dangerous, and when things are bad, her reaction is to panic and scream. Friday, we went out on a friend of mine's boat, and we got into a dangerous situation. We were anticipating light rain, but we ended up with a downpour, high winds, and high waves. While me and the other men were trying to strap things down and keep the boat from capsizing, my fiancé screamed and cried for dear life. She was in hysterics, and I get that it was a scary situation, but her yelling and screaming that we're all gonna die, and for God to save us, and literally crying saying that it's my fault that she's on the boat since I asked her to come with. None of the other girlfriends or wives were doing this, just her. I'm sure the other women there were just as scared, but try to keep it in for the sake of the men doing something about it. The downpour was really bad for about 15 minutes, so 15 minutes of wailing while we're doing everything we can to keep things alright. We made it back safe with little more damage than a few spilled White Claws. On the car ride home, I told my fiancé that we needed to talk about how she was behaving during the crisis. Not only was it incredibly embarrassing in front of my boys, but it was distracting, unhelpful, and telling. I told her that today proved to me that if I was in a life or death situation, I could not rely on her to be of any help or do anything except make things more stressful. I said she needed to learn how to not panic and be helpful. She got unbelievably mad. She said that she thought she was going to die and had reason to freak out. I told her that all of us were scared, but none of us were as ridiculous as she was. We argued the entire ride home, and she is still pissed off at me. I think I was right to say this, especially since we plan on spending our lives together and raising a family, and I can't be the only level-headed one. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I may be the arsehole because this hurt her feelings, and it may have made her feel like I was disregarding her feelings of fear and putting my feelings of embarrassment over her. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say, not the arsehole. Screaming, "It's your fault I will die?" in front of all of my friends in a situation where we need to be level-headed and just saving the boat? How embarrassing. How utterly embarrassing to have a wife react like that. I don't know, I would die of cringe on the inside. Like, my God, you are making a mountain out of a molehill. Please control yourself. Please calm down. It's not that deep. The wife in this situation is indeed entitled to her own feelings and her own reactions, but come on. She only made things worse in these situations. She fails to realize the impact of her actions and words, and instead of addressing it in an adult manner with you, she gets upset. You're doing the right thing by communicating with her. She's acting like a child and being pissed off in response. I feel like she is definitely the asshole in this situation. For you, not the asshole. Now in the comments, George Likes the Banana says, not the asshole. She can feel and react however she pleases, but that doesn't change the facts. So you're correct. She was unhelpful and only made an already scary situation even more stressful. It's indeed a very useful skill to have, to be able to think somewhat straight in a crisis situation, or at the very least, have the sense to not make it worse for those who are trying to help. Screaming, "It's your fault, I'm about to die," is enough for me to end the relationship. It's our final moments, and you choose to blame and attack? That's not who I want dying next to me. George Likes the Banana replies, I'm with you. It's a horrible thing to say and really shows her overall mentality towards her partner too. Words like that are impossible to forget. Alexandra G94 replies, yeah, can you imagine if she had died and he survived? He would have been so effed up with a much worse case of survivor's guilt than he was already going to have. That's it, I'm over this says, I've been in situations like that. The appropriate thing to do is break down after the crisis, not increase chances of something bad happening during. I'm embarrassed for OP too. Yeah, I can seem very together and on top of things while the bad shit is happening, and then completely fall apart in the aftermath. OP, the question shouldn't be, am I the asshole in this situation? It should be, why am I marrying a person that I can't trust? Maybe that's something that needs to be addressed, because whether you were the asshole here pales in comparison to why you're still marrying someone you can't trust and whom you describe in such unflattering terms. GTE 105U says, "Not sure you handled the delivery well, but it's a fair concern. If you have children, she cannot freak out every time she's scared. Unfortunately, she probably learned this from her parents and, well, would pass it on." Not the asshole, though the delivery sounds flawed. Would work on that. There is probably an apology needed there. You may need counseling on this, but ultimately it probably never will change. You just need to decide if it impacts your long-term plans. Consistent Annual 268 says, "What exactly was your aim with this discussion? Because it sounds like to me you just wanted to put your fiancée in her place, rather than talk about her traumatic experience and try to understand what happened with her, so that you could help her manage her stress response better next time." Face it, you were absolutely not trying to help at all by bringing this up with her the way that you did. You were not solutions-focused. You wanted to assign blame and guilt. Think about one thing though. You're not even helping yourself by doing this, because now you've only put extra doubt in your fiancé's mind the next time that any situation comes up. You're the asshole to your fiancé and to yourself in the long run. I'm not even touching the misogynistic overtones in your post. Other commenters will cover that better. Brace yourself to get absolutely clobbered by "Am I the asshole" on this one. And Foe replies, "It's hard for me to understand you're the asshole here, even as a woman who is a feminist and has been actively fighting for our rights for decades. In a tense moment, the partner escalated the situation. In moments of crisis, you don't want an escalator. That's how accidents happen. That's how riots start. That's how people are accused and blamed. That's how lives are lost or ruined. If you're critiquing OP for not being solutions-oriented, the partner deserves the same critique, except even more so because she was trying to inspire panic and frenzy among others. How dangerous and stupid that was, no matter her gender." Hidden Things replies, "This woman here, the way she acted was ridiculous and embarrassing. If it was my partner, I would be upset too. He's allowed to discuss his feelings with her. Not everything is misogynistic." And back up to the post, we have an edit. "Oh my effing god. The women there did not help because they did not know how to help. The men there have been out together on the boat countless times before, so we're all experienced and know exactly what to do. It is so much more unsafe for them to be in our way attempting to help if they don't really know what they are doing. It's safer for everyone if they just hang on and keep calm until the issue is resolved. This has nothing to do with them being women. It has everything to do with them not knowing what to do. If another guy had been there and didn't know what to do, I'd tell him to sit tight and let those of us that do know how to handle it, handle it." And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.